Hey everybody, and welcome to Ricky's Rockin' Reviews. Today I wanted to take a look at The Cartoon Life and Loves of a Stupid Man by Marc Joan. Now that's a really intriguing title and a really intriguing cover art here that we have. It appears to be this man that's kind of like tearing off his face, and it's segmented into different panels, and it even has like a Comics Code Authority type deal here for the publisher who published this book. So that's really cool. And when I started looking into it, I realized that the main character is this guy who loves comic books and loves comic book art, and he's a really creative person, and I can identify with that. Of course, I have like Galactus behind me and stuff, and this Avengers omnibus. I love comic books too, so I was hooked when I saw the synopsis, which is of this man who's a 32-year-old guy living in Geneva with his wife, and he owns his own comic book store, and he considers himself an artist as well. The only problem is that he has this mental illness, which his wife is insisting he keep at bay by taking these drugs, which kind of depletes his creativity, and he's not very happy with that. Then he also has to deal with this annoying thing where when he takes these drugs, he's constantly having to go urinate. So he hates it. He has this disdain for having to take any pills whatsoever. But he's also vaguely aware that he does have some type of problem. But like a lot of stories like this, he's kind of confident that maybe he doesn't need the pills anymore. He's also dealing with this stress in his life because his wife is a very beautiful, successful woman who works as a heart surgeon, and she also has other heart surgeon colleagues who she is spending lots of time with at a conference and doing research papers and writing all kinds of theses and stuff. So she's constantly away, and he's feeling very neglected. So we have a really good premise for like this perfect storm that's brewing inside his own head. So on top of that, our main characters, Philippe, the comic book store owner, and Marilyn, his wife, the heart surgeon, they also kind of detach themselves from other people as far as the way they view themselves. They see other people as the normals, and as you meet them and as you spend more time with them in their apartment, you see how weird they are, and they do some really weird stuff. For one, they don't believe in mirrors. As far as Marilyn's concerned, they never need to see their own face because she feels that when the mirrors are up, she can see all the ugliness inside of herself. And so I'll let you guys read into that. And Philippe is kind of abiding by her rules, so he doesn't look at mirrors either. But what kind of starts off this story is that he ends up accidentally seeing his own reflection, and he sees this like almost dark half of himself. And he starts hearing this dark half whispering to him and telling him he doesn't need the pills, and also kind of feeding into this paranoia of why Marilyn is spending all this time away from him. And it makes him think that she's cheating on him, and he is hell-bent on finding out, is she really cheating on him with this guy who he calls George Clooney because he's very handsome, and he works with Marilyn, and he's super jealous of them, and he just can't stand the thought of them, and he goes on all these kinds of rants. But at the same time, he's also reassured by his wife all the time that like she loves him, and she thinks very highly of him, even though he's just an owner of a comic book store and is not bringing in that much money. But what I really found really cool about this story is the way that it's told. So we have Philippe here, and it's almost as if he's narrating his life, but he's narrating it as if he were reading it in a comic book, which is super cool because when emotional moments happen, or when he's frustrated, or when he's elated, when he's happy, when he's like kind of doubting himself or doubting the motive of other people, he kind of describes the way that the book is changing as he's reading it. Like as far as like the panels, how they become tighter, or they become more open, and you get these different splashes of color and different inking techniques and textures to the story. For example, there's this character that his name's Yves. He used to work with Marilyn before in Paris before they moved. He's described as this incredibly dull person who only gives one-word answers and is very boring. He also has a 3D printer and he's always creating these weird creatures which Philippe calls monsters, and he has them all around his apartment and stuff like that. But anyways, he is really infatuated with Marilyn. At least Philippe thinks so. And so he's very annoyed by him. And as every time that he's mentioned in the story or brought up, or Philippe needs to interact with him, he describes the colors as becoming washed out and yellow and almost like the book he's reading has jaundice. And it's just really funny. In fact, guys, I think it's best if I just kind of read this introduction to Yves, this character who Philippe can't stand. When illustrating Yves, the book's artist is uncharacteristically parsimonious with color and primitive with technique. Indeed, Yves is shown always tinted in sepia. Skin, clothes, and hair seem made of identical material. A dull khaki-colored mass. No gradations of tone give depth to Yves' chubby form. Scratch Yves, the book implies, and you will find nothing beneath. No luciflex grace his environs. Nothing, it seems, can shine or gleam besides Yves' matte tedium. So stuff like that is here throughout the novel. It's really quite fun. But that's what I really like, because I have this collection of 90s comic book prose novels, like Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Superman, Batman, you name it. I have a whole bunch. I'm confident to say I probably have around, if not 85 to 90% of all that stuff that was printed back in the day, and they're still making some, like Aconite's making some. But anyways, my point is I read my superheroes in prose form because I just enjoy that. I also enjoy the comic books. And here we get this kind of like weird blend where it's not a superhero story. It's like a horror drama kind of. And this guy is describing his life as if it was a comic book with complete descriptions of the panels, dialogue bubbles, and even the fonts of the dialogue, like Comic Sans and all of that. That was really intriguing for me. And I really liked the way it was kind of... I really liked the way the story was unfolding. Philippe kind of has a few leads as to what's happening with Marilyn and the people in her life which are taking her away from him, he views, in his eyes. And his mental illness is coming across more and more as the book goes on, because he's refusing to take his pills. And there's some moments in here that are not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. He kind of loses his marbles at some point here, which can be extremely funny because a lot of the times we're well aware that everything that's happening is pretty normal, but Philippe is like going from 0 to 100 as far as overreacting, and also just doing some really curious things when he's walking around the city and interacting with people. It's kind of a very different story, and I really like its uniqueness. I have never read a book like this before, and I'm going to have some links down in the description of the author doing a read of the first chapter, I believe. He does a really good job of introducing you to the characters and also reading his own work. I think he pulled off something really cool here, very unique. And like I said, I just found another moment of brilliance here when he's just describing the beauty of his wife and how infatuated he is with her. I thought this was a really good line. It says here, her hair is piled up in a bun. Her long neck follows curves and tangents seen only in God's book of geometry. That's good stuff. I really appreciate you guys watching. If you guys can like, comment, and subscribe, that would be awesome. Tell me of any books that are kind of unique in the way that they're told. I have a thing for that. Catch you guys on the next one.